smooth.
Yeah, for good reason.
So you're rolling?
Yeah.
I'm rolling. Camera's rolling. We're all on the shot. We all look good. Am I getting cut off?
All look good.
Perfect.
I hope I look good.
All right. Thank you. This is episode 12 of the
12,
Grindhouse Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Edwin Cabrera,
Chris Martin.
from Coldplay, of course. As
Fuck
we all
you.
know him.
It's just gonna keep going.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
every
gonna
week.
just change his name.
Every week, just gonna be a.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, we call you. I think everybody here calls this dude Critta.
No, absolutely not. I don't.
No?
I don't think I've ever referred to you as
Really?
Critta.
I feel like that's a more original name than Chris, though.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of people say
every-
Chris.
But the thing is, I find
one
myself.
out of 3 white dudes are named
Yeah,
Chris.
but I find myself like referring to him as completely as Chris Martin. You know what I mean?
Somebody already has that name. Like,
But to me, he's Chris Martin.
Okay.
Like he's not Critta.
well, I guess
I need like an
right.
alias
How
or
many
something.
Chris
Yeah.
Martins do you know?
C
A lot.
Martin. C.
That's the most.
It's kind of
like-
it's definitely a
Yeah,
popular.
It's like
he's like-
Mike
name.
Smith. How
He's
many
like
people
s-
named Mike Smith? A lot.
In your life.
Are you offending a lot?
If
of
your
Mike
name is
Smiths
Mike
right now?
Smith, right? Edwin Cabrera.
So I like to call him,
It's all over Reddit.
I like to call him Critta. He goes by Chris Martin.
Mm.
I have 2 guests with me. These are more friends than special guests.
For sure.
Rappers or hip hop artists or any sort of artist.
No,
I don't think these guys have any. You have an album coming out?
Yeah, I got a.
Yeah, you guys are promoting some stuff, right?
Yeah, I got
It's
a. I got a.
not
I got an EP banging right now. You
Oh,
know,
yeah?
with Fab.
With
Some-
Fab.
yeah.
Fab is
You know,
Fab.
set shit out for just for free. That was funny.
So we have 2 non-MCs on the podcast, but these are very dear and near friends of
thanks.
ours.
Yeah, long-time friends.
Longtime friends of ours. We go way back, and we decided to have, some special guests on the Sidebars episode, just to have some, outside thoughts. That
Yeah.
way it's not just me fucking talking most of the time and Critta chiming in here and there. We got a little bit of extra.
At least somebody noticed.
We
You know.
got a little extra.
Chris is actually my favorite character of the show.
I'm sure he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, that's why you said
I get it.
I'm like fanboying out right now. Like,
Yeah,
can't believe
word.
I met the guy from Coldplay.
Your palms sweaty.
Yeah.
If you're in the car scene, you may recognize these 2 or at least know of these 2. So
Oh, nah.
Oh God,
No.
that's where we're going off with this. All right.
yeah. So TJ over here is founder of Crate Street, right?
Yep.
Do you want to just talk a little bit about what Crate Street is?
It's basically just a blog, right? So it started off as a blog. It was mostly personal use, and then it kind of grew into something that people around here were relating to. So I was just covering a lot of the shows and a lot of the cars that people don't really see. Just trying to give their flowers to some of the greater builds that don't get any attention on Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, that's what that is. Just covering the cool stuff that I like.
And John, you're OEM Plus, right?
Yeah, so that's a more, I guess, like recent thing. TJ's been out in these streets for a little while now, but yeah, but shout outs to you. But OEM Plus is a relatively new business that I'm starting up. So the focus on that is basically what I've always been into, which is building cars with kind of like picking out the parts from other cars that are within the same brand. So it's like you could kind of like piecemeal like your perfect car because everything basically fits together more or less, right? But the idea is that eventually we'll start, doing better builds, kind of improving upon it. All the old stuff that you used to be able to buy, you can't really do that anymore. So that's where we kind of fill in the gap.
Fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, you 2, you little
You
entrepreneurs.
fucking got your plug in.
Yeah,
you
these
know.
guys being all professional.
This
Yeah.
came. No, I mean,
Okay.
got it right. We got to make dough off
Hell
this.
yeah. No, good for you guys.
All right. First and foremost,
We
me,
should start charging people.
Yo, for
come
real.
in to plug this stuff.
don't even tag us. Just be straight up haters.
Actually, the pod might
We don't
go
even,
down
we
because
don't
we're
even
on
post
this.
the
Like-
episode.
Like, how do you got negative viewers?
-5. I don't understand.
Well, it's because of us, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, it's because like TJ, you listen to the podcast, and you're our only fan. So
Yeah, these two are pretty much like.
No way.
We have we probably have 0 listeners today because both of our listeners are currently on the podcast.
on the podcast,
Yo, actually, your audio hits are gonna be way higher because we keep replaying it.
Shared on all of our family members' Facebook.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
yeah. Look at my TJ.
Yeah, I know,
You know.
So, I mean, you guys don't just come just right off the street with anything. I mean, obviously, you guys are into the car game, and you have a pretty extensive history of being in the game as young as you guys are. And so I feel like what I would like to do on the podcast is, one, just bullshit with you guys, but two, also pick your brain about what the fuck the car game is like to be in. I'm not, as you know, and you guys respect me for this, I'm not a car guy. I've never attempted to call myself a car guy, nor do I have any flashy cars. But for as long as I've known both of you guys have always been in the car game. So we'll start it out with a basic beginning question, which is, tell us a little bit about how you guys got started and what made you enjoy cars so much so that you've decided to spend your life doing this as a hobby.
How much time you got?
We got about an hour.
Well,
Shit. All right.
I guess I could.
Short.
I'll drive that because like it kind of is like that's how me and TJ met, and so it kind of builds into like that good storyline. So it all goes back to when I was born, September 1990. And it was a cold.
All right, speed it up.
What's your
social security?
We got the birth certificate on deck.
Nah, so basically the short and sweet of that is like growing up in Lynn, like we always saw like really cool cars in the neighborhood, and like I think that a lot of it has to do with just like when you grow up in certain areas, like the quote unquote hood, right? Like there's a lot of time and then there's a lot of effort to put into like keeping things clean or taking care of like older stuff or whatever, and for some reason that kind of like trickled into almost like the mindset that you build cars with. Back then it was all like early street racing and body kits and pre-Fast and Furious area stuff, like when we were really young, like we didn't know anything, right?
Yeah, like neon green type.
Yeah, like Lambo doors, and you got
The
like
stuff you get made fun of for, well, what is it, back then?
yeah,
right?
there's like shops like Speedworks and KTA Motorsports downtown, and ER Graphics and all that. And so like we grew up watching that stuff, and so that was always cool. And there was like a real grassroots like beginning. Like to me, I thought that was just what we did in Lynn. I didn't realize that was like a countrywide or worldwide thing to do. Fast forward to being like 16, my dad bought me my first car. We started like messing around with that, like putting radios in and stuff. Then we got into like lowering it and like wheels and all this other jazz.
That stuff.
Yeah, and then
I didn't even know him at that time.
yeah,
Like I was just like hovering around too.
yeah. TJ was just like this like pimple faced kid, like walking around
Goddamn
like
nerd.
yeah,
it's still there.
yeah, doing like the Naruto run everywhere or whatever.
Show you
You
all
know?
my secrets, bro.
And then like one day, like on AIM of all places, I think
R.I.P.
yeah,
AIM.
rest in peace to AIM. Yeah, like TJ hits me up and he's like I had like a carbon fiber like shift knob for sale. My car wasn't even a standard. I don't know why I had it, but
This was before Facebook Marketplace. This was actually on MySpace.
yeah,
When,
I was nasty back then, posting up stuff for sale up there, right? But yeah, like I posted up something for sale. TJ hits me up, and I think like your mom had that yellow S4 back then.
Yeah, so that shift knob wouldn't even fit. I just wanted it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it.
So I think we met at like my locker,
Yeah.
and like I think it was like $15, and then like I was like, cool, have fun, and then just like that was that. But then, then you got then we went, like I went off to college, and you got like your purple hatch, and then I think things kind of took off.
Yeah,
from there.
that thing was a hell of a project. That car was bought to be a daily driver, and then I didn't get the title for 5 months. Mind you, I've never bought a car ever.
So you,
right?
like, you
so
didn't know
I
the process
paid
of,
for this
like-
car. The car shows up at my house like 2 weeks later. Didn't get a title. Couldn't do anything with it.
It was purple and had a green
So
hood.
all my friends are like, this guy's like, dude, just get your money back. And I'm like, no, I like this car. I don't know. Just wanted to fucking do something with something, right? I was bored. So we started tinkering with it. And before we even got the title and got it registered, the car was probably apart
Mm-hmm.
a handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
We go on drive it. I drive it for 2 days, and then I blew it up.
Mm-hmm.
Motor.
How did you do that?
The motor.
Actually, that's a part of the story I never figured out myself
So,
because
like, the
I just
motor
got the phone call.
How'd you manage
So,
that?
the motor wasn't exactly taken care of, and I didn't know the history of it, so I just assumed that he took care of it. But I found out later it wasn't. And then we went driving, and it just started smoking. Just blew head gasket, and then I drove it home with a blown head gasket,
Mm-hmm.
so the head was warped and all that.
So
it was a special motor too.
yeah, and keep in mind, like at the time, like we didn't exactly have a ton of money to be throwing at cars. So like TJ, I think, was working like 15 jobs and like whatever. I think you worked at Marshall's still, possibly.
No, I was out of Marshall's. I was working at Millipore as like a material handler.
Shout outs.
And then at night, I can't plug that. Oh, my bad. Nah,
We'll
then
bleep it out.
I was
His
working
real
at the
name
airport
is
at night. So I was doing that for almost a year, and I was like, I'm tired, I'm done. But it was all for that car.
Yeah, how do you? Okay, so I never had enough money to be able to like fund like a project car like you guys funded. What the fuck did you have to sacrifice in order to be able to pay for shit on the car and like continuously keep building? Yeah,
Everything.
because you guys also dress pretty fly for people who spend all their money on cars. So like,
Yeah, what's the deal, guys?
So Target's got this thing, right? Goodfellow, yo, for real, they got some nice clothes. Nah, but I mean, we just save, man. Like, we like nice stuff too.
Yeah.
So we're not like, if there's a set of wheels that we want, and they're normally really expensive, right? I mean, $3,000, $4,000 for a set of wheels. We'll just
That's
save.
a flex.
You know what I mean? You're grinding to save. Some people are like, they were not
Hear
like
that,
but
guys?
we like,
Grinding.
yeah.
Ooh.
Plug there.
No, but we really just try to save for the things that we want. We don't settle for anything less. But
we're gonna
Yeah.
do a sneakerheads episode sometime soon because I feel like the sneakerhead hustle and the car hustle might be one and the same, especially when it
I
comes
recently
Yeah.
watched
Huge.
so
a thing on shoes, and it's
Yeah.
like a whole other world. I don't.
Oh yeah,
understand.
Yeah.
I didn't like when I didn't understand. If you look, I mean, you've seen enough episodes to know that I'm well dressed is never my game. But like I feel like I've recently been put onto the sneakerhead like economy. and
Yeah,
how to
like
make money in the
reselling and all
sneaker
that.
game.
Yeah.
There's money to be made. I had no idea there was
Yeah.
like that kind of like a economy for it. I just assumed people just really like shoes, and then people were like, nah, like you get the right pair of shoes, you can make dough off of that shit and
Yeah.
look good at the same time.
And it's the same. It's the same for the car stuff because like back in the day, right? Like we're talking like Facebook, like was that thing called Marketplace now?
Mhm.
So like back then that wasn't a thing. Like I was buying stuff on like eBay.
JD and Mass.
Yeah, like JD
So
Mass.
it was pre-
Yo,
Yeah,
wow, I haven't thought
Mass,
about that in a while.
yeah.
But yeah, like JD Mass or like
I sold the car on there, so.
the forums were a big one. So like my hustle used to be like I worked at Kohl's like selling shoes or whatever. So you weren't gonna be able to like buy like baller stuff with that. But like in order to like save up to buy car stuff, and Edwin's been like around for this for a lot, where like I would buy something and like for like a really low price, usually from the West Coast, and I'd have it shipped in, and then like people like out here would just be like eat it up because they're like, well, it doesn't have rust or whatever, or like you just couldn't find that stuff around here. And then like we just always had this like affinity to want things that like you just couldn't find here. Like certain wheels we would have shipped over from like California or like Seattle or whatever. And then like even Japan, like there's people that just buy stuff straight up from Japan because like you're not going to go on Craigslist and just find that stuff there, you know? So like by the time it makes it over here, like it's like it's passed through so many hands that like if you get a good quality one, like it's worth a lot more. You know what I mean?
So they have sort of the same thing where it's like limited edition sort of things. Is that...
Yeah, it's like I guess like so I would like I hate the word rare, because there's
exclusive.
yeah there's no such thing as
Mad
rare.
exclusive,
Yeah.
bro.
Because all I'm gonna say is how is all y'all saying that your Rega Masters are rare but everyone has them? Has them. Yeah.
They're fake though, but it has them.
There's
yeah.
slipstreams.
Yeah.
Slipstream, was it slips with stickers?
Yeah. Because it's like the rare stuff is like we go for like if we're just talking about wheels, it's like really the size and fitment and like this thing called like the hub, like the wheel stud like spacing. Like usually like because we have like the American versions of certain cars, like there's even less sizes really available to us. And so like you buy a certain set and it's like, you know, untouchable. Like I think like one of the rarest sets of wheels like I've ever seen was like your 15x8 like plus 25 like K1s or whatever.
Those are 15.
This is definitely a car guy episode.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna get some.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
whole
Well,
new
basically like he has like these.
fan base.
Yeah,
For just one episode. They're gonna be surprised when they're like the next episode has nothing to do with cars.
There's like that's like a deep-seated inside joke because those wheels are definitely not rare in any means, but like
That size we've
Yeah.
never seen
looked
ever again.
yeah.
Like I was probably the only person that had that set, and I don't know where that set went. I just sold it to some kid, and I think it might have made its way to Canada. Now that I think about it.
He fled the country.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like,
dude.
fuck this, America sucks.
Dude, I was gonna say he boofed the whole set.
Chill.
Yeah. So in terms of like the sneakerhead stuff, it's like I don't collect sneakers myself, but I could like kind of respect it and understand why like the exclusive releases or
It's crazy out there. There's like
Mhm.
12-year-olds making more money than us,
right.
Yeah,
just off
we're fucking
kicks,
up.
Mhm.
right? Like I mean, I went the last camp out I did was for the Black Pigeons, like last year, and I got there like 3 a.m.
Wait,
Think-
so what are those?
So it's a Nike SB Dunk, right? So when we were in
Okay.
high school, that was popular,
Yeah,
and then it died off. And then as of maybe 2 years ago, it just came back.
yeah.
So all right, cool. So Jeff Staple makes this iconic shoe back then. It was for New York. It had a pigeon on the side. It's the color of a pigeon. It was actually really cool, right? So he brought it back and made a black version of it. I didn't realize that people were still paying attention until I pulled up that day. There was tons of people, and it was maybe like 28 degrees. I'm like, yo, fuck this. I'm not going to stay around for that. And I left. The prices the retail price on that was like $120. They
What's the
resold.
resale on
Resale
that?
was like 12 that same night, 1,200.
Jesus.
I'm like, okay, that's insane.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
Quick way to make fucking
Serious
$1,200
quick money, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like a real hustle. Like people have made like whole careers out of
Well, I
it.
think there's a whole site that's dedicated
Well-
to reselling
Mhm.
those types of shoes.
they're advertising on like television and everything now. StockX, I think it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is the card game the same in terms of like some parts like
Like reselling,
quickly like
and,
shoot up in value because of the
Oh.
exclusivity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like speaking on just like I'm a diehard Honda guy, so like that's all I really know. But like there's this brand called Mugen, and like we had like a bunch of re-releases from this one company of like shift knobs, right? I think they were like $180 brand new, and there were people flipping them for like $500, and like people were like really buying them. And like most recently, like they released some wheels, and there was a lot of there's a lot of backlash because they weren't like the same as the originals. So like you'll hear about people talking about like the OG like Air Forces and how like the stitching is different, or you know the fabric feels different. Like car guys are like even more meticulous. Like not saying like sneakerheads aren't meticulous, but it's like car dudes are like, and we've done this, like we've pulled up to actual meets and like look at other people's cars and like pulled out our phones to look inside the wheel to be like
don't do that.
yeah, that's disrespect.
You
but
can't do that
Yeah.
now.
You might
Back
not
then
be
you
able to
could.
leave.
yeah, yeah,
Because
because
people now aren't
get
as
offended.
friendly as they used to be. I think.
well, it's because like we didn't really know anybody either, so like we were just some kids in the scene, and like to us, like we were used to us rocking all the real stuff because like it took longer to buy, but like it was so much more worth it. Like the quality was there, and like if you're really about it, just like you're a sneakerhead, right? You'll just be like, well, I don't have time to go buy that drop that day, but I'll just go drop like $1,200 on it just because I can, you know.
Just paying for convenience.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That somebody has it.
And then like another sneakerhead will see you in a subway and just pull up on you and just be like, "Yo, lift your jean," you know.
One of the shoes, dude.
That's a great transition to what I'm gonna ask you next. So you spent all this hard-earned cash on car parts, and you souped up the car, and now it looks dope. All the ladies are feeling you.
No,
feeling
that's
like-
Like
a
all
that's,
the
it's
ladies. They're
only
just,
dudes. All right,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
got to be discussed, right? You build a car, everyone thinks that you're gonna get a chick. You don't get girls. you only get more dudes.
This is a sensitive
DM.
subject for TJ.
That's all that happens. You only get dudes.
This is a really sensitive subject for TJ.
If there's a guy out there that says that they're getting girls off this, they're lying.
Well, do you think it's good because like girls know you're just wasting your money on?
Absolutely
Girls
not.
just don't care. They just don't care.
No, because like the thing is, like dudes think that like if you build like this like super fast car and it's super low to the ground and like looks like a shark rolling on 95, that like all the girls are gonna want you. Like they'll get in the car and be like, this shit's like bumpy and loud and there's no AC. And it's just miserable.
It's like super low to the ground too.
Yeah, there's a dude across the street that's like, yo, I need that.
Yeah.
While he's at like a vegan restaurant with his girl.
So you've worked hard and you got this beautiful car that no girl seems to appreciate the way they should. Is there a paranoia in terms of like somebody coming by and jacking it right from you?
It used to be.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? Because it's like, I think that within the scene, so like more recently, because the world's starting to get smaller because of social media and stuff, and this is just speaking from our personal experiences, is that like, if a car was to ever get stolen or like, you know, whatever, a lot of those parts you really can't resell. Because like you either stole it because like first of all you're a hater and like you just wanted somebody else's stuff, or like you stole it to try to sell everything. But it's like the world's so small where certain parts are only known within certain groups of people. So if you randomly posted up that like, you know, for example, like when David's hatch got stolen, it's like that car was very unique, had a very unique set of like wheels and a motor setup and stuff, and it's like, you know, we had basically like the country looking for that car. You know,
did they find the car?
I don't think so. No.
Unfortunately, they didn't. I think the motor ended up somewhere. The shell probably got jumped somewhere. So
car thieves, there's still a chance you may not get caught.
Let's not promote that, but it's like, you know, there's a very high chance where like you'll try to sell something and then like somebody who knows somebody else is gonna spot it and be like, oh, that's from so-and-so's car, you know, and you hear about that story a lot.
It's mostly around Hondas, unfortunately. I mean, really nice Hondas too. I mean, a lot of the regular Hondas get stolen just because they're older and they've had experience. Most of the time, they have experience trying to break into them. But I mean, it's not as hot of a topic as it used to be, but it still happens, you know.
Yeah.
But personally, for me, I don't. Aside from the fact that it doesn't run right now, I was never afraid that I could, you know, park that car on the side of the street and something's gonna happen to it. But
yeah, I definitely remember like when we would go on trips to the mall that you would be like you would want to park the car in certain sections and certain areas.
Yeah.
And so I know it's just a little bit of
that was definitely for real. I mean, like, because I guess like I would put into like our response before is just because we have second cars, so we don't drive those ones every day. Back when I did drive that like a built car every single day, it was like, you know, like what Edwin said, it's like we would go to the mall and like I'd want to park it further up so that if something was to happen, somebody would see it. Because like the mall, the movie theater, the grocery store, like anywhere you could leave a car outside for more than 10 minutes unattended, it's like that's a chance for someone to just come by and steal it. So,
like beef, you know how hip hop has that beef? Like they have like the old heads versus the new heads, and like you have like the boom bap versus trap and like all this shit. I guess in the car community, there's some like
we're going there.
Is there? Yeah, we're going. So is there some tension between like the older car guys?
You
and the
looking
car
at
guys?
it, son?
All right, tell me what
Are you guys just like grumpy old car guys now?
No. I'm pretty much the younger part of this, and like John and I,
Where do you
best
fall
friends.
in this, John?
I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna do this like in terms of self-proclaiming being an OG, but like I definitely like
just claim
the older style.
He claimed it, but not claiming it.
Yeah, like
John likes to think of himself as like the young OG.
Yeah, y'all know my resume.
He's been around.
Y'all know my
He's been
resume.
around the block
I
a while.
But like no, like yeah, TJ's a lot more on the more open-minded side of things, right? Like he's down for like vaping and cutting fenders and stuff. And then like
If you don't know, I own a Subaru.
and like
Two of them, actually.
and like wrapping your car and all that jazz. And I'm more of like the like old school, like, you know, like lyricism and, you know, battle rap.
Less flashy.
Yeah, you know, like
More
I don't
about the culture.
Right,
you know, just,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both about the culture.
Do you find yourself like, you know how some of the older acts have finally started coming around appreciating some of the newer acts? Have you come around a little bit to try to appreciate what the younger generation is doing?
Well, I have a weird foot in the door for both sides, right? Because like I'm not that old, so like I don't have like this weird attachment to that. Like I think everybody should be building cars exactly the same way. Like I appreciate like all builds realistically, right? Like there's like certain stuff that we do make fun of, but it's rightfully so. But then there's like other things where I'm just like I could appreciate a clean car that has time put into it. But I do know plenty of like old OG heads that like, you know, like if your car's not built a certain way, like they just straight up don't like it. You know what I mean? Like there's certain people that just like won't even give it the time of day to like acknowledge that like somebody really put the time and effort into doing that. Like, and you know, and I think that like I said, with like social media and the world becoming smaller, there's also like and we talk about this a lot, is like there's like all these subsets of car like community coming up where it's like, you know, you have your OG old heads that like really mess with like the 90s style, you know, like driving around bumping Nas Illmatic only type heads, and then there's like, you know, everybody else that falls within it. There's like the stance car guys, there's like, you know, the fast cars, there's like, and then like within all of that it's like all the other cars with it, you know, like you have like the rear wheel drive fast cars, you have the nitro methane all motor Honda stuff.
Yeah, the world's really different. I mean, it's literally like it's its own little community, right? And there's gonna be beefs. I mean, all these young kids are just, they're just wilding out. They're doing everything. They're basically doing it for Instagram, for social media and stuff. It's instant gratification, right? Whereas for us back then, we weren't building it for that. We were building cars just because we thought it was cool. You know, we were inspired by somebody else driving their cars, like a cousin, an uncle, or, you know, somebody. And that's what we wanted. Whereas now it's like, well, I mean, I guess you can use it as a tool to get chicks, but like I said before, it doesn't work that way, you know, but
Right.
still, they just do it.
Yeah, it's because like I feel like we build cars within like you almost like pay homage in a way, right? So it's like we're not from like I was born in the 90s, but I didn't live in the 90s type of thing. Like I was just a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like when you think back to like what they used to do back then, it's like that was cool to us now, but back then that's all they had, so that's all they can do. You know what I mean?
They weren't on the internet trolling like we were.
No,
Like we
Yeah.
are.
like they weren't on the internet
Nothing else to
trolling. They
do.
weren't,
That's a good.
you know, like
Let's talk about that.
that is a good topic. That's definitely gonna get hits. But like, you know, like with TJ and stuff, it's like we talk about it a lot of just like, you know, when you're building a car, it's a lot like music, right? Like you want to pay homage and you want to like show that you have that ability to still box with the OGs, but then like you still have to do something fresh and different in order for it to be like, oh, like you didn't just copy a build from like 1988 or something. And you hear that a lot where people are like, oh, like, you know, this car looks exactly like, you know, this person's car.
So is that a thing? It's sort of like taking from other people is like a big no.
No, I don't think so.
Like scene or
that,
like-
see, that used to be a thing, right? So I think the same time that it, you know, with music now, like biting used to be a no-no, right? Like
Yeah.
you know, dance, all that stuff back in the day. Now it's okay. You can, like, there's people that blatantly bit at the color, the wheels, everything. Just blatantly build somebody else's car, drive it around, no one would say anything.
But those are like the
really
builds
weird.
that, in my opinion, those are the builds that don't like last, right? So it's
Yeah.
like if you have an artist that comes out and like makes like a hit that sounds exactly like, you know, Designer or something like that, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, like we're definitely in like an age like in music. I mean, a lot of the stuff that comes out sounds the same. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to stand out. Would you say that's the same in the car game? Like it's hard to stand out, or
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can. I mean, people don't really. Well, everyone's doing like the most now, right? There's wild colors. There's, underglow's a thing now. That's really, really huge, and everyone's on its face, whatever, right? They're doing all these things. So trying to stand out by being really flamboyant, I guess, is not the way to do things. I guess most of the time, like, the way you stand out is if you build something really old, in a way, like a really classic build. Like, if John brings his Integra up here, it would stand out for this fact that it's really simple. Everyone else is doing so much. So I guess it's kind of like going full circle, right? Where a lot of the simpler ideas and simpler things are just starting to make its way around. It's starting to be trendy again. Whereas all the stuff that, the huge wings and all that, it's starting to...
Like, subtle is cool again.
Yeah, like a phase, so...
Yeah, I think, like, for us, it's like, specifically just, like, now that I build cars, like, on the West Coast and see what, like, everybody over there is doing, just because, like, that's a huge influence in terms of the car community. It's like how New York is for hip-hop, right? Like, a lot of that stuff is... That's the home, like, territory. And, like, what I'm finding is that what's cool now is starting to, like, go back so far back to show that, like, you actually know more than what the next person does. There's, like, a surface level that, like, most people can't break through, because it's like at some point you're building a car that has parts on there that you just straight up cannot find anymore. And that's, like, it's almost like a bigotry in a way, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, I have this part that you literally can't buy, and, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it is cool, because it's like, how many times in your life will you actually see that particular set of wheels on that car, kind of thing? So it's almost like unreal to, like, see a setup where you're like, wow, I only saw that on the internet back in, like, 1994, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's funny, because that's how the sneakerhead thing was back in the day. Before all the retro stuff. Like, to have an OG pair was cool. No, I don't think people really care in that world anymore. They're just trying to make $1.
Yeah.
But
Or they want, like, the newest
yeah.
shoe that comes out.
Although, even though they bitch about it not being the same, I'm like, well, it's supposed to be newer.
Which is cool, though. I mean, like, you got to have your lane, right? Like, one of the OG heads I know, Randall Syntype, Adam. It's like, Randall's, like, triple OG in the sense of, like, he only collects, like, Air Max 90s.
Yeah.
And, like,
he's got a mean collection.
Yeah,
too.
and his car, like, literally hasn't changed in, like, 15 years. But, like, every time you see that car, you're just like, wow, like, that thing's a time capsule. And then, like, he's the type of guy that would, like, go out of his way to buy, like, an OG set as opposed to, like, buying the new drop. Because, like, I think the new drop is more for, like, and, like, our friend George said this the best way, where he was like, there's not really a lot of chances for us back then to have bought it, right? Because it's like we either didn't have the money or we just weren't in the market at the time, just because we weren't old enough, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like the re-release stuff is like our chance to finally buy that stuff. So I could kind of see both sides. It's like, you gotta give everybody a chance to experience it, because that's what's the cool part about it, right? It's like you shouldn't try to, like, hold it back and be like, oh no, like, only we get to do it because, like, X, Y, and Z or how old we are. I think that's kind of whack. Like, that's not really showing love, which is what this should really be about.
So I want to, like, switch gears a little bit. See what I did there. So yeah, yeah.
All of us just stared at you like
whoa, ours.
Yeah.
What? So being, like, car guys, what's your take on, like, sound systems? Do you want that obnoxious sound system, or, like, you want that, like, subtle, like...
I can't hear it. My exhaust is too loud, and normally my cars are gutted, so that doesn't mean anything for that. But I mean,
you heard it here first, kids. Gutted and loud exhausts are not cool.
No, it's not. I mean, it's switched over.
Those things
like,
are
I want to.
cool.
I want to have something.
Me and my old state of mind now.
Being an old man.
The 212s don't cut it for
you. I love that shit. I actually saw an Accord earlier today when we were, like, down in downtown Lynn Drive by. It's just slammed with a huge system in it, like, to the point where, like, it shook my soul. And I was like, man, like, that like might seem corny, but when you're in the car at that time and like you're with your homies and like the music's blasting, that's a good time, man.
Unless you're talking about the ones that are taking it further, the car shows. You're talking about the Chucho Boys?
Oh, no. You don't put that. No.
If you have to remove a speaker and put it on your roof,
Oh yeah,
I think that's too much.
I've definitely seen people do that.
Yeah, but no, like I like we're like I feel like you gotta have beats in the car no matter
for
what.
sure.
Yeah.
You gotta have beats to match the whip, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't be playing Taylor Swift in the, you know. In the...
Oh, nah. There's a story for that. Somebody came blaring to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Blasting Taylor Swift.
This is back in our like.
Yeah,
our
you could
heyday.
hear 22 just going around because we're at the top of the parking garage and he's driving up. He didn't have an exhaust in the car because he thought it would be funny.
We were just
all right. I got you.
But when you see a dude in a Slam Civic, like
It's always funny from the
Stoneface.
person's like doing its perspective, but it's never funny for everyone
Exactly.
around.
Just
Everyone's just like,
second-hand
"This is
reviews.
stupid."
But
Like,
He was in character
No,
though.
but the
Like he
thing
was
is-
stone faced, looked like he was about to shoot somebody
Yeah.
if someone said something
Thing
about Taylor
is-
Swift.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, every car meet has this scenario where, like, there's dudes that are just there to be mad at each other.
yeah.
Like, you brought your car so that people could.
So you're
like,
trying to like slice through that with
Yeah,
some,
and then,
some
like,
T
I'm
Swift.
like, how are you gonna look hard when you got like pink wheels on your purple car or something? You know what I mean? Like, let's just have a good time. And,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Listen to some Taylor Swift, you know.
Yeah.
But cool. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So, I remember back in the day, you guys had this little collective you guys used to call Track Stars.
Dang.
What the fuck? What's it like to be in like a car collective? And is it any similar than being in like an artist collective or like a hip hop collective? What do you guys do as a group?
Nothing.
You guys just
Well,
rep
well,
the same
I-
team? Is that?
That wasn't really like a thing that we just came up and said, hey, we're gonna do this car club thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a family. That was way beyond what we brought that back because of a friend. That was because of Hoy, you know, and we wanted to do something for him. So when we came up with that, it was more so just trying to honor him, but then have fun, right?
Yeah, it was very much like an honoring of a friend because like as kids we always like talked about like all these cars that we wanted, right? Just like a bunch of poor kids looking online kind of thing. And then like, you know, when all that stuff happened with him, we were just kind of like, well, you know, maybe we should just actually like start building the cars and doing the stuff that we always said we would, just because like kind of like in honor of him. In my opinion, the whole Track Stars thing actually worked in a way where first of all, it was a family, like is a family still, but secondly, it was like I don't think anybody was really assigned a role, and I could kind of speak on that because like I don't know why, but I became like involved with other car clubs.
Yeah, that was just kind of a thing that we wanted to, you know, we made these stickers and they knew that it was us. It was just, you know, friends. You know, we hang out, we only did car stuff together for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But we would like want to go to BJ's, and instead of taking one car, we'll all take our cars. So we're mobbing down just because, and it looks sick, right? But it's just like any other group. You just kind of hang out. You guys have the same passion, and you know, just made memories, had a lot of fun. Like we had a lot of good times before we just kind of our lives just moved on. You know, I wish it lasted longer, but you know, we were all going through some crazy changes in our lives. So
yeah, and within the crew, I think like if you're just talking about car clubs in general, what I feel like kind of brings everyone together is like it's a form of camaraderie, of course, and like, you know, brotherhood and sisterhood and all that jazz. But like what's cool is that I find that different groups of people with similar mindsets usually like gravitate towards each other anyway. So like a lot of times like the crew's name or whatever doesn't even really come up as a discussion point. It's like when you start to build a car with a certain level of quality, a certain types of parts, certain like expectation, you just become associated with a certain group anyway. Like especially around here, it was like you know, if you had like a really fast car, you knew what crew that the car is probably from. If you had like for example, like the whole Track Stars thing, like it didn't really necessarily start out us just like rocking just real stuff, but like we ended up getting to the point where like not in order to kick it with us, like you know this because Chris kicked it with us, but
yeah,
like,
no, I hung out, you know.
but it was like
a lot with us.
Yeah, I mean, well, you lived like walking distance from my
Pretty
house,
much.
so it's just
you know,
like,
and Ed like saw everything, so it was like for us it was like we built cars that like emulated a lot of the stuff that we looked up to like over the years, and so like really like all the cars that we built together was about like taking it up a next level. So like being from Lynn, it was like you saw cars that were built the same way all the time, which was nothing wrong with that, but that just wasn't what we grew up really looking up to.
yeah.
And so like we started reaching out being like, yo, we need like this specific set of wheels, we need this type of motor setup, we want the car to have like this kind of ride height. And before you know it, like you look at the whole squad and it's like everybody's cars like little by little started to become similar but in their own lanes, you know. Like you had like George's S2000, which was like at the time like
I think it was pristine.
yeah, like, you know, it had wheels on there that were like 1 of 1,000 sets or something like that in the whole world. And then you had like, you know, his car, like my car, like David's car, even like everybody's cars had like their own style and flavor of like why it was special, but like we had to get it there. So it's kind of like in a rap group, I think, like, you know, like if you're talking about like the TDEs or whatever, like those groups, I'm sure there's some type of like internal challenge to be like, oh, you gotta
Yeah,
go harder
I mean,
on
it
the
all
next
has
track.
like the same aesthetic.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of a crew, right? Because usually it's like you start to see like their influences isn't just themselves, it's like there's a whole theme, you know, like everybody has like a lane, and it's like you kind of like either really enjoy like we really liked the Slaughterhouse crew for a while, like that, you know, that
was dope, and that was something that we just kind of come up with, because like we fuck around and just talk about like little groups and little dreams all the time, right? And then we came over this thing, we're like, yeah, we're just gonna we built these hard cars and just go make whatever stupid amount of power and go race and like just have that entity, right? Because the name is like really aggressive. And then we're like, nah.
yeah.
Just really wasn't us, you know. Like we're very much laid back when it comes to this whole building cars thing. Lots of detail to it.
Yeah.
I think old, I guess.
Yeah. So within a crew, it's like you know, it's you could be anything basically. I don't think that there's really rules. It's just like I'm seeing it now. It's just all like-minded people just coming together, and like even crews now, it's like it's not even about being from the same hood or same like, you know, group of friends or anything. It's like people from all over the world can come together and basically be like, as a collective, we're gonna build even better cars, you know. So that's really cool to see too.
What was a build that you feel like very proud of even to this day? It could be even the not the one that you put the most money into, but the most maybe love and effort into.
For me, that's pretty easy.
You go, because
That's definitely my first car, the car that I built with these guys. We learned everything on that car. Engine harnesses, swapping engines, deleting.
What car was it?
This was a 98 Civic hatchback, purple one.
The purple one,
The
yeah. I
purple
remember
one
that.
that I think people still like only remember me for that car. Like that
Yeah.
car was just really loud. It was really low. It was cool, and it was also a piece of shit.
Yeah.
like that car. I mean, what we did, like a rear disc conversion on that.
Yeah.
Like the night before, like the car basically broke, and
a lot.
yeah, it broke a lot. So
I remember
this was, like,
that,
right
yeah,
after.
yeah.
So blew up the first engine, put another engine back in there, got it running, and then suddenly a very vital piece on the rear suspension broke, and we decided, instead of just drilling it out and putting a new bolt in there, we decided to just change everything overnight. And we spent I probably spent like $800 on stuff that night. Rebuilt everything just so I can go to work the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we did this multiple times for that car. And
Yeah.
it wasn't the car that really made it special for me. It was the all the time and money and you know, everything that I did with these guys. You know, that car was like a family car. You know, and that car still to this day still is very, very special to me.
Would you say like that was sort of like how you learned how to like mess with
Yeah,
cars?
for sure. I mean, we kind of treated that car as just like, well, I mean, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. I mean, when I sold that car, I shed a tear. Like, that car it meant more to me, right? So it's funny because maybe 6 months later, I got tagged in it. The car got rear-ended. The car got rear-ended by somebody, and it was in Lawrence.
That car was just born with bad luck.
Yeah,
That thing was cursed.
That thing was yeah. So I this is before I bought my Subaru. I bought an orange coupe and I was building, and I saw that car, and I thought it was a good idea to go and buy that car. I DM'd him. I bought the shell back for $100, and then was starting to rebuild it, and then I stopped. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And now it's sitting at some scrapyard, I think. At last I heard, someone said they spotted that car just like sitting.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Cut there.
All right.
The battery's about to die too.
So, okay.
Oh, it just died.
It's perfect.
Good to go.
All right.
Miggity Mike. Yo.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Anybody on the JBP?
We try to be conscious of not ripping off the Joe Budden podcast.
Nah, it's just cold in here. I was trying to warm up
for
my
real.
hands. That's all. What are you talking
Alright.
about?
We're all avid listeners of the Joe Budden podcast, so every once in a while, like, there's definitely some sort of reference to his podcast.
Yo, can you plug that nasty photo I have with Joe Budden from like years ago?
Pull that up. You send me the photo. I'll pull it
No,
up.
you can find it on
That'll
his
be
Instagram.
the,
He's got
the thumb for
real
the video.
the pod that made him cry.
Alright, so before we cut for a second, we're punching in now. We're talking about legacy, like the cars that these young car gods have been.
These
No.
young car peasants.
Don't put us up there. Yeah.
Young car hustler. I don't know. We're
Students,
identify
man.
ourselves as
We're always students to this
car
game.
hustlers, car students.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, we get hustled by the cars,
You get-
bro.
So
we have never made a dime off these.
That's a
Seriously?
fact. We're
Yeah.
bad hustlers at that shit.
If
man.
anything, we hook
Like,
people up.
how much money do you think you've thrown away just on car shit?
I don't even think about that.
Yo.
Like, honestly, like, because it's, I mean, like, you know, like, one rule of thumb that you should always do when you're building a car, if you get into anything, right, is like, don't tally it. Because, like, if you have a goal and, like, you're going to work towards it, just, like, keep going at it. Because if you stop to tally it up, you're going to be like, I could have been doing something different with this
So if
money.
you're into
or-
budgeting,
yeah,
don't get in the
This
cars.
is not.
yeah, because, like, there's so many surprises that pop up that, like, yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, I know.
And
Right?
I don't even like do car shit for like a hobby. I just do it to drive and
Yeah.
the car. That's the
Yeah.
price. The things that pop up.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I feel like we talk about this often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just traumatized.
Same.
Well,
Same.
yo,
Yeah.
that's a whole episode in itself of like
Yeah.
my experiences with Edwin about cars, man. Like we have some stories going back. Shout outs to the green neon. You know what I mean?
That's my first car.
Yeah, the greatest of all time.
Yeah, 97.
Turn into a therapy session.
You gotta change the whole set.
The back seat was always wet. I don't know why. It was always
Pause.
wet. It could not rain for months, and somehow the back seat was always wet.
It was a dry ass summer. I don't
The
understand.
speedometer didn't work. Like the car was fucked
Yo,
up.
the
And
radio
somehow,
didn't
like,
work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Radio didn't work. That car was trash.
What'd you pay for this?
I paid $700.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It
that's
was worth.
That-
It was yeah.
that
it
sounds
was
like a
worth
$700
Yeah,
car.
I paid.
Like-
Yeah, every penny was
Yeah.
definitely accounted for that $700.
yeah.
But what we're talking about your cars, like your cars that you sort of appreciated the most because of the heart, the blood, sweat, and tears you put into it. So John, what was your car?
Yeah, so my legacy build was my black hatch. I think it was a 96. So that car was actually like a weird continuation of actually TJ's build.
Yeah.
So he got rid of his car, but like a lot of his parts just made its way into my mom's garage because like TJ,
I
whatever.
Just leave stuff there.
yeah. And so I've been wanting to buy his hatch for a while, and then like just stuff just happened where we just weren't able to get that to happen. And I found like I was going through some stuff in life, and I was like, I guess it's time to just buy something that I'm not going to really mess with, which is weird, right? To think about, like, to buy something that you're just like, I'm just going to leave it alone and enjoy it. And then, like, this is why you don't buy other people's project cars.
That's a fact.
So that car, like, took me through hell and back. Took me, like, 5 years to build, back to, like, not even close to the standard that I was going to be happy with. But that car was probably the biggest challenge in terms of, like, just my patience and like the quality that I wanted to achieve. But most importantly, like, that build stood out to me because, like, during, like, really dark times or, like, like, really stressful moments in life, like, that car was, like, all I really had to kind of, like, not think about it, so, like, if it was from school, work, my girl, whatever, it was always like spend like an hour or two or even 20 minutes in that garage just like polishing something up or like getting it a little bit closer. And so, like, that's why I made the comment of, like, don't tally it up, because I did that like at the end of that build, and it was like I looked back and I was like, man, like, that was a lot of money for something so stupid that I hate. But, like, thinking back to it, it was like it was 5 years of me, like, having something to escape with, and that car, like, ended up becoming, like, really important to my life because, like, because of social media and, like, just, like, car meets and whatever else, like, that car actually got me back into going into car meets and stuff, because for a while I wasn't doing that. And, like, I started meeting, like, a lot of good friends, and, like, the world just happened, and, like, that's how I ended up, like, basically being introduced to the friends I have now. And then, like, the course of my life totally changed, and I could kind of thank that car for, like, doing all that, like, not doing it, but, like, being a part of it, And so, yeah, that build, like, was, like, a pretty important thing. And like, a piece of me was like, I should have finished it. Then another piece of me was like, it went off to the right home kind of thing. And, like, I still have a lot of the parts off of that car. And someday, like, I'll build, like, the real version of that car. But otherwise, like, I think it served its purposes. And, like, where I'm at in life now, like, that car just doesn't do its duty to me anymore, So, yeah, that was that car.
Word. Cool. And just to sort of, like, bring things down to its end, I wanted to ask you guys, like, what kind of cars are you guys whipping around now?
Oh, God.
I drive a Forester.
A Forester?
Dude, I daily drive this Forester, right? It was just this beater. We deal with winter. We deal with crappy drivers. We got to do a lot of stuff. And I don't drive my nice car around.
What's a nice car?
What was?
Yeah, what is your nice car?
Yeah, ooh, your dick. Well, actually, this day last year, I blew up my nice car So it is a 2006 STI. I bought that car after the purple car. After I gave up on that car, I went and bought this car. I was like, this is just a daily driver. I'm not going to do anything to it. And then I got way too deep. It was really fast. It's a 4-door. I can take it everywhere. It's a good car, right? New England. It's catered to the Northeast, in my opinion. So I blew it up last year, and I've been putting it together since, slowly. I mean, a lot of things get in the way, but I wish it was running now.
So it's just in your driveway?
It's in the garage.
The garage.
Like, he saw it, and he was like, what the fuck is this? There's no engine in it. There's no fenders. There's no bumper. Nothing.
Oh, my God.
Just stuff everywhere.
Just trying to Frankenstein that shit.
It looked exactly like my car when I was my purple car when I was putting it together.
Yeah.
It's bad for the vengeance.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture of it later. I have it somewhere. I don't have it on my phone, but I'll send you a picture. That thing, it looks like a graveyard in there.
Mm-hmm.
John, what you got?
I have a.
What do you have, my G?
I have so I finally bought my unicorn white Integra. You rode in it before I moved. So I have a white 1994 Integra RS. Just keeping it clean, like nothing too crazy.
In California.
Yeah, in California, slammed,
crappy weather.
all that stuff. It's
He
my
came
it's
up
my
to take it
baby.
back with him.
Yeah, and then I daily drive a Civic Type R. So I bought that like just about a year ago or so. Yeah, I mean, being a Honda fanboy, why not, right? There's like the one chance I get to buy a Type R, so
A new Type R. right? So
was
your
a
chance
new-
to buy a new Type R.
Yeah.
When we were kids, trying to buy a Type R in general was a big deal.
Yeah, so I get to have like all the washed stories when I'm like 40 about how I had a Type R back when it was new,
Yeah.
and like you kids don't understand.
Did you take a picture of like the number plate and which one it was?
I think we've reached the end of the podcast. I have sort of like just the one last before we get into plugging our own bullshit.
Yeah.
I want to go back to talking about what you guys have going on in terms of Crate Street and OEM Plus. So to
Plug
close
away.
up the show, plug away. Let us know what you guys are up to or plan on doing with the platform that you guys have.
Man, Crate Street started as just like a, just kind of a dream, I guess. And now I'm basically a journalist, right? So I go to these car shows. I mean, I'm already there. So taking photos and just capturing the moment, it's more so for people in the future. Some kid that wants to, build a car, or they bump into it. This is their way of actually seeing what happened at that time. Because I feel like not too many people are capturing that. They're taking a photo, but no one's writing down what happened, like really holding on to these stories and sharing these moments that are really, really special, but they just look past that. So I took it upon me to just do that for everybody, so I mean, not even just car stuff. I want to dabble in everything that I think is cool, whether it be music and extreme sports stuff, because I really love skating, but I can't skate for shit. But trying to take, I have plenty of friends that do that, and taking photos of them and filming and all that stuff is what I want to get into, just to have, just like little short clips and stuff like that. But future stuff is just covering as much as I can, getting more merch, cool merch, not like key tags and stuff like that, is whatever.
Not that grindhouse stuff.
No,
That's just bad.
yeah.
Can you buy it?
Like we have
Yo.
t-shirts and stuff too, but we gotta up quality and stuff like that. I just want to do everything cool as possible. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's Crate Street.
Word.
Yeah, so OEM Plus, like I kind of covered a little bit about what it is I would like to get it into. So a lot of it's still in the early planning phases. So anything that you guys see, such as the website, Instagram page, and stuff like that, is me kind of like finally kind of putting the structure together so that we could start actually being like a real discussion piece. But I think the long-term goal, at least to start off with, is getting more into like being able to provide people with just like the parts that they need to restore their cars and kind of like get that energy going, just to like kind of see what people would want. I think that kind of goes back to how I said like I was buying car parts on like eBay and stuff like that, and then like selling it out here. I think that the restoration scene is just getting bigger and bigger every day, and like I just want to kind of be there to like be part of it, not to necessarily like dictate it, but like provide stuff. But I think there's a lot of broken out branches of OEM Plus, and me and TJ talk about that a lot, where it's like I have a lot of goals and aspirations for it, but I don't know what's gonna actually stick on the wall. But a lot of it's gonna be trying to get into parts sales, custom parts development, plastic and metal machining items, tuning cars, hopefully getting into someday doing like motor rebuilds, and then someday we'll just go all out and actually start to really like plug people with parts that we just can't get anymore, and I probably plan on dumping my whole life effort into that and seeing where it goes. So
That's the way. That's the way.
I mean, we're both in our own ways just giving back to the game that's taught us so much. You know what I mean? So just whether it be the OGs, that people that we looked up to, we just want to be that for the younger generation and really show them how we build cars, because there's kind of a disconnect where there's people in our generation that build cars, but they don't help, they don't give back, and we're trying to pave our own path and just do that for them. And
But that's not to say that there aren't OGs that like looked out for us in the past.
Yeah.
Like there's very real amounts of OGs, especially in Lynn and in the surrounding areas, that like taught us a lot, and like we wouldn't be where we're at today. So like I don't want to get that misconstrued, because it's like people take that as like we're talking about the younger crowd that like is really just thinking about their own Instagram clout and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's like OGs out there that are like even right now teaching the young heads like how to build like 1,000 horsepower Hondas. There's people out there that are doing like finally inviting you to your first track day, stuff like that. Like those people are forever going to be like the ones that like we're just taking what they taught us, and then just being like, well, we're not trying to necessarily make a ton of money off of that idea. It's more so of like, somebody has to be out there from at least our generation, and like how like I'm alluding that we're OGs, but after saying that all right, as an OG, like, you know, somebody has to give back. And so I think like I've built all the cars that I think I want to right now. And right now, like, I find my most happiness, and TJ feels this way too, especially with Crate Street. It's like somebody's just got to be the right person to like really guide people. And it's just like music. It's like if you don't have the right people kind of like being like, yo, you don't sign to 360 or something like that. If it's not for you, then it's like, you know, who do you really have? You know what I mean? So the scene can't thrive unless we really give back. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's really cool to have you know, old friends.
Something different.
Yeah, a little some different.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah, Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. Happy Thanksgiving.
Episode, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure we all ate a lot. I definitely did.
I did.
Yo, I'm thankful for y'all. Is that can we do that?
That's so sweet.
For the
Yes.
you know, we've known each other for a minute, and
Yeah.
you know, watching you guys
Very
grow
long
too.
time.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Yeah, that's one thing we didn't talk about is the fact that we've all sort of been doing our own like side hustles.
Yeah.
It's all like this is kind of the first time we've clashed in terms of
Yeah.
what you guys do. Obviously,
Yeah.
what you guys do and what we do are similar but different.
Yeah.
We obviously, Crit and I tend to root our like side hustle endeavors into like hip hop music, not necessarily like making the music, but supporting the music. And I like how you guys are doing that for the car community as well.
Yeah.
So it's cool that we get to sort of meet and talk over the podcast about, you know, that.
Yeah. And that's really why we wanted to do like, you know, TJ reached out to you guys and we talked and all that stuff. It's like, I think that like we really just respected the hustle, and like obviously we love you guys too, but it's like, you know, I think that like it's all very similar like mindsets of things, and it's cool to kind of like clash all that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we all came from the same squad.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool that all our ideas are sort of coming to fruition the way they are. But again, thank you guys for coming through. For you people at home, if you guys have been watching the whole time, holy shit. Round of applause to
We're
you guys.
boring.
All right. all the hip hop heads are just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Y'all should really get up and turn off the TV because the dog is
Spin off what you mean.
We want the hip hop.
If you appreciate what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, support, or tell us we suck. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Just interact with us. Let us know that somebody's out there listening, whether they want to or not. We have merch. I'm sure we've mentioned that. We had we don't have it on this week, but the last episode with Wes Taylor, check that out. Check that out, and check out the Tron episode also.
And also check out his new record, 16 Plasma.
Check out
it's out
16
now,
Plasma
streaming
out
everywhere.
now. Exactly.
So.
But yes, merch, check on grindhouse.com, Big Cartel, something like that.
Yeah, there's a link in
there's
the
a link.
subscription.
Check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like what we're doing, hopefully we'll continue giving you more of that. But yeah, until then, peace.